Ladies. Chuta, O mango creeper, Priyala, O Priyala tree, a kind of shala tree. Panasa, O jackfruit tree. So they had mango there, that's good. Asana, O asana tree, a yellow shala. Kovidara, O Kovidhara tree. Jambu, O rose apple tree. Arka, O arka plant. Vilva, O pale fruit tree. Bakula, O mimosa tree. Amra, O mango tree. Kadamba, O kadamba tree. Nipaha, a smaller kind of kadamba. Yea, who? Anye, others. Para, of others. Arta, for the sake. Bhavakaha, whose existence. Yamuna Upakulaha, living near the bank of the river Yamuna. Shong Santu, kindly tell. Krishna Vanavim, the path Krishna has taken. Rahita, who have been deprived. Atmanam, of our minds. Naha, to us. Translation, O Juta, O Priyala, O Panasa, Asa, and Kovidara, O Chambu, O Arka, O Bilba, Popula, and Amra, O Kadamba, and Nipa, and all you other plants and trees living by the banks of the Yamuna, who have dedicated your very existence to the welfare of others. We gopis have lost our minds, so please tell us where Krishna has gone. So I just want to, for the internet, I just want to remind them it's 10:39 in the Bhagavatam, just so you can follow along. So, purport by the followers of Srila Prabhupada. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, Juta is a mango creeper. whereas the Amra is a mango tree. He goes on to explain that the Nipa, though not a very prominent tree, bears large flowers. So another thing about the Nipa tree, so I can describe some of these trees, I'm familiar with them in Vrindavan. The Nipa tree has very large flowers, and it has leaves that are shaped like cups. So when the cowherd boys would take prasadam, they would actually use that. They wouldn't use plastic or styrofoam or anything like that, like metal. They'd use the nipa leaves. There's actually one kund right near Govinda Kund. It's not a kund anymore, it's dry. It's called in Nipa Kund, where the cowherd boys will sit with Krishna and eat the prasadam. Nice. Anyway, a little story. Nipa tree, although not a very prominent tree, bears large flowers, and that the gopis' desperation to find Krishna is clearly shown by the fact they approached the insignificant arka plant. Arka plant is like very bitter, it's medicinal. You don't want to take it, it's actually poisonous. So it's personal. In other words, that's the statement that's being made here, the insignificant arka plant. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives the following information about the Vrindavan trees. The Nipa is a dust kadamba and has large flowers. The kadamba proper has smaller flowers and a very pleasant fragrance. Another thing about the kadamba. The kadamba tree in Vrindavan is very easy to recognize. I don't know if you have kadamba trees here, probably have in Fiji. It has bumps on the side of it. It's like almost slightly golden. Not really golden, but it's like a hint of a gold color. And it has bumps all over the side of it. And so it's taken as representative of Srimati Radharani feeling ecstasy. It's interesting, isn't it? Whereas the Krishna tree is the tamal tree. So you have Krishna, sometimes who goes and sees a kadamba tree and remembers Radharani. And you have Radharani, sometimes she sees a tamal tree and she embraces the tamal tree thinking it's Krishna. The tamal tree is blackish tree. In our courtyard in Krishna Balaram Mandir, there's a tamal tree. There used to be another tamal tree when they were constructing the temple. The devotees wanted to cut down that tree. And Prabhupada said no. There's very few, and actually now there's very few tamal trees left because they've decimated. That means they really cut down a lot of trees in Vrindavan and built these really high-rise buildings, 10, 15 stories high. They've actually, I can't say they ruined Vrindavan, but they pretty much covered it up a little bit more for us poor conditioned souls. There was a song when I was young about, it wasn't about Krishna, but it was a similar mood. It says they've paved paradise and put up a parking lot. Some of you may remember that song. It was from the 1960s. They paved paradise. So they paved Vrindavan. When I first went to Vrindavan, you actually saw all these trees in Vrindavan. And of course the peacocks, you were woken up every morning with the peacocks crowing. And you'd walk and there wasn't any vehicles, motorized vehicles. It was all like a forest. It was all sand trail around Vrindavan. And just like, you definitely remember Krishna. Now I have to be honest, I have a hard time remembering Krishna in Vrindavan. Because if I take a curriculum around Vrindavan, I'm always trying to avoid the trucks hitting me. Because the curriculum path is now on the truck route. So you really have to go in the middle of the night in Vrindavan. So anyway, so I moved out to Govardhan, where things are more peaceful. And they declared Govardhan a green zone. So they're not going to be able to destroy Govardhan the way they destroyed Vrindavan. So, but the original Vrindavan, I know we used to go swimming. We had water fights in the Yamuna River. We were just like, had such a good time. The water was clear in the Yamuna River. brahmacharis, not the lady. The ladies had to be chaste and just cook all the time. But anyway, that's a joke. But the brahmacharis, we'd all go into the Yamuna and just splash each other, just have such a good time, jump off the sandbanks of the Yamuna. And now, Yamuna's not even in Vrindavan anymore. They've constructed dams above Delhi to divert the water so that the businessmen could grow different types of rice. I actually had a whole documentary about that. So the businessmen could grow rice for export, not even for the Indian people. Basmati, because the Indian people in India, they don't eat basmati rice. They just eat the regular rice. So in other words, so some businessman, and in this movie you see the businessman, he has a belly like this big. I'll just show you all the recent time. And they've diverted the Yamuna. And then all there is after they call it barrage. That's the name of a dam in India, barrage. I don't know what you call it here, but anyway, barrage. And so after the barrage, 2 or 3 barrages before Delhi, there's only a dry riverbed, just sand and rocks. So Vrindavan is actually, it just doesn't look the same. I mean, to my external vision. Internally, it's the same. But you really have to be like situated to see that. So what's being described here in this verse is like Raj the way it was over 5,000 years ago. And sometimes I think about this, I just, wow, it'd be so nice to be in India thousands of years ago, or even 500 years ago, over 500, when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was present. Just going through the Jharkhand forest and seeing the lions and tigers, not lions, but tigers and deer, embracing each other and kissing, and just like, this is like, wow. Now you can't breathe the air, basically. What has man done to this world, especially to Vrindavan itself? Anyway, just whatever. So, the Kobidar, so that's the conundrum tree. The Kobidar is a particular type of Kanchanada mountain ebony tree. That's a nice type of tree. Even though the arca plant is very insignificant, it always grows near Lord Gopishwara, the Shiva deity in the Vrindavan forest, because it is dear to him. So a little explanation about Gopishwara. Gopishwara is actually Lord Shiva as a lady, as a gopi. Gopi Ishwara. And he is the presiding deity of the Vrindavan forest. This is technically, he's called Dikpala. Dikpala means the guardian deity who guards the different areas of Braj. And actually, if you go to different areas of Braj, you'll see different Shiva deities who are guarding different areas of Braj. For example, in Radhakund is Kundeshwara Mahadev. Very interesting. So whenever we do the Radhakund Parikramah with anybody, with devotees, of course, aspiring devotees, we actually go to Kundeshwara Mahadev and get permission to enter the Radhakund area. That's the proper area. And actually, the four corners of Radhakund, there's actually Lord Shiva in the north, Lord Shiva in the west, Lord Shiva in the east and south. We're guarding the dam like that. So, Gopishwara Mahadev is a very interesting deity because he keeps men from entering the rasadas. Only ladies are allowed. And actually, there's all ladies means gopis, of course, not ordinary Matajis. but gopis, and there's different varieties of gopis. There's sakis, and there's manjari gopis. And the manjari gopis are the very young gopis. And so anyway, so if anyone wants to enter the rasa dance, and also you have to be qualified. It doesn't let ordinary ladies come in. So there's an interesting story it happened around Govardhan, is that Narada Muni, he wanted to see Krishna's rasa dance, and he wanted to enter into the rasa dance. Not to dance with Krishna, just to watch with his binoculars. And Gopishra Mahadev, he stopped him and he said, only ladies are allowed here. And so Narada Muni didn't know what to do, and then he had the realization that if he bathed in a particular corner of the Kushama Sarovara, then he would become a Gopala. So he went into the Kushama Sarovara and bathed, and he became out as Naradi. Actually, I had one disciple here in Fiji. I gave her the name Naradi, and she was really upset. She said, "Do you think I'm a man?" I said, "No, Narada Muni is a gopi. It's a very exalted name." So Narada Muni, this is the whole story. Narada Muni went into the rasa dance to watch it, not to dance, just to watch from the bleachers in the stadium. So he went in to watch the rasa dance, and Krishna immediately noticed him, or her, sorry, noticed her. So Krishna immediately noticed her, and he said, "Narada Muni, what are you doing here?" And Narada Muni said, "I want to watch your rasa dance." And Krishna said, "I got something else for you to do. I want you to remain in Braj and to establish your ashram here and write the Narada Pancharatra and Narada Bhakti Sutras here in Braj." And Narada Muni said, "Not possible, Krishna." And Krishna said, "Why?" And Narada Muni said, "Because I've been cursed by your devotee Daksha to not remain in any place very long." And Krishna said, "Don't worry. In Braj, curses don't work." And also in Braj, other aspects of the material energy don't work either. I mean, that doesn't mean you can step in front of a car and get run over. It doesn't work. But, all these things like Vastu and everything, you don't really have to worry about it in Braj. Where the temple is facing, this way, that way. Because Braj is transcendental. Confirmed. It sounds like the beginning of a Bollywood movie, where the girls and stuff dancing. Anyway, isn't it? So Braj is transcendental. So that's Lord Shiva. And of course, Narada Muni also, in his ashram there's a beautiful ashram where Narada Muni resides. It's called Narada. It's right on the banks of Narada Kund. You went with me, Mama, right? Anyone else has gone with me there? No, no one else has gone with me. You're all so unfortunate. You're all invited to come to Vrindavan, if they ever let us fly again. So, in this ashram, Narada Kund, it's a very beautiful Kund. Kund means like a lake. That is where Narada Muni instructed Kayadu in Krishna consciousness. Kayadu, of course, is the mother of Prahlad Maharaj, and the wife of a demon. And so Narada kept her there. And then, anyway, so it's his special ashram, and there's a deity of Narada Muni there. And actually, they chant the Hare Krishna mantra a little bit differently there. They chant, instead of Hare Krishna, they chant Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Radha Krishna, Radha Radha. Radha Ram. So you may say, what is Radha doing with Lord Ram? Well, Ram in this particular context means Radha Raman. That's described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and other acharyas. Anyway, interesting story. I thought you'd all enjoy that Braj story, since we're in Braj right now. So we'll read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, "The jasmines, out of fear of their co-wife Tulsi and Krishna, are not speaking, though they know." So, because the jasmines are on the garland of Krishna and Tulsi is on the garland of Krishna's garden. So they're afraid of Tulsi. So you actually see, it's not just like everybody's just like peace, love, like we used to do. This is from the 1960s. I would remember the hippie generation. Peace and love, brother. One time we went to this festival, the Rainbow Festival, and they said, peace and love, brother, welcome home. And I said, this is home. This is not my home. I went there to preach, because everyone was naked. I said, this is not my home. The Rainbow Festival. So anyway, like you even see in the Tulsi Shalaram Vivaha story, Tulsi cursing Krishna. So she's getting angry sometimes. So she's not just like, sometimes you picture the gopis, they're just like smiling, it's not like somebody with a stupid smile on their face, an ignorant smile. They actually have emotions, all these different emotions. They get angry, they get jealous, they get fearful. All these emotions are manifested. They're funny sometimes. They're telling jokes. So you have to really understand there's a lot of variety there. You don't have an impersonal picture of the gopis in your mind. They're just not like that. They're just like, infinite varieties of gopis, infinite variety of colors of their skin. It's a real rainbow festival. Infinite varieties of emotions. It's wonderful. Anyway, so, out of fear of Krishna, they're not speaking, though they know. What use do we have of them since they are dependent on others? In other words, the gopis are thinking like that. What use do we have of these jasmines because they are subservient to Tulsi? Saying this, they went elsewhere. In front of us are the mango and piala trees, standing motionless on the bank of the Yamuna. From that we guess that they are in meditation on Vishnu. They will not lie to us. In other words, they're meditating on Vishnu, so they're more dharmic. Because people who meditate on Krishna, they're just like, they're rasika devotees, you don't know what's going to happen. They meditate on Vishnu, they're sober, it's all reverent, so they're more trustworthy. With this faith, they inquired, Ochuto, mango with creepers, Nipa, Duli Kadamba, O Kadamba with sweet fragrance, O Piala, a type of shala tree, O Asat, yellow shala tree, O Kobidara, type of Kanchanara tree. There's all these trees there in Vrindavan. O Arka, though small as always with Krishna, coconut. There's no coconut trees there now, that's for sure. Supari and others. Please tell us who are without our souls where Krishna has gone. Without our souls. In other words, it's just like our heart has left us. Why? Why should we tell you? You have taken birth to help others. So, the trees are answering the gopis' minds. Why should we tell you? And the gopis say, you have taken birth to help others, and you live on the bank of the Yamuna. Does anyone know who Yamuna's brother is? Yamaraj, yes, right. So it says if you worship the Yamuna, you won't have to see Yamaraj. It's nice. And who's the father? So, okay, got it. That's good. And there's actually a temple to Surya Dev there on the banks of the Yamuna, and a temple to Yamaraj on the banks of the Yamuna. So then Jiva Goswami's commentaries. Those trees will not speak because they are his servants. We will ask trees which are trustworthy like sages. Chuta is the creeper mango and Amra is a tree mango. The poets called the creeper mango Natamra. It means something like dancing. It was seen in the central states. Nipa is the Duli Kadamba with huge flowers and plentiful pollen. The seed of the Priyala is famous as Charu Bija, that is the seed of Charu, and is eaten. Panasa is the jackfruit tree. There's no jackfruit trees now in Vrindavan. The weather has definitely changed, that's another thing. The weather has changed since Kali Yuga has come about. Asana is the yellow sala tree. Govidara is double leaves and is famous as the Vindhya, in the Vindhya region, as Koi Lava. It is similar to the Kanchanara. Though the Arka tree is considered inferior, they asked this tree also since they were full of longing. What do we gain in telling you about this? You are dedicated to helping others, the conversation between the gopis and the trees. You have taken birth to help others. Or, another version is, Parartha Valvikar. That is, you're producing auspiciousness for others. It's like that verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. One who is taken birth in the land of Vartavarsha has his business to produce, isn't it? Auspiciousness for others. Preach. Since you are living at a holy spot near the bank, Upakula of the Yamuna, you speak the truth and are merciful. Thus, please tell us the truth. Do not cheat us. You should search for him yourself. That's what they think the trees are saying. Fearing this answer, the gopis speak with pain, hoping to generate compassion for their suffering state. And quote from the gopis, we have lost all consciousness. We are near death. We cannot search by ourselves. Previously, they asked the other trees if they had seen Krishna but did not receive an answer. Now they cleverly ask only for the path he took. Really intense. Any questions before we go into the next verse? Anyway, there's a nectar portion of the book. It's all nectar, but especially this. So we'll go on to verse 10. Kim te kritam chititapo Bhatta Keshavangri Sparshotsavapulakitanga Nahar Vivasi Apyangri Sambhava Rukrama Vikramadva Aho Bharava Pucha Parirambanena. Translation. O Mother Earth, now they're talking to the earth, what austerity did you perform to attain the touch of Lord Keshava's lotus feet, which has brought you such great joy that your bodily hairs are standing on end? You appear very beautiful in this condition. Was it during the Lord's current appearance that you acquired this ecstatic symptom, or was it perhaps much earlier when he stepped on you in the form of the dwarf Vamanadeva, or even earlier when he embraced you in his form of the boar Varahadeva? Wow. So in other words, the gopis actually, sometimes they get a glimpse of who Krishna is in ontological position, and other times they forget. So these are, it's just like coming in, just like sometimes you remember something, and sometimes you forget, like Arjuna. Sometimes he remembered that Krishna was God, and he apologized. And sometimes he forgot Krishna was God, and lied on the same bed and hit Krishna on the back. How are you doing, Krishna? Krishna didn't help me kidnap your sister. So it's like that. It's just, I mean, it's amazing. The rasa is being experienced right here at this point. So, purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the thoughts of the gopis as follows. Perhaps the trees and plants mentioned in the previous verses did not hear our question because they were in trance meditating on Lord Vishnu. Or perhaps since they would not tell us where Krishna is gone, They're hard-hearted even though they live in a holy place. Anyway, what is the use of unnecessarily criticizing the residents of a holy place? We cannot tell if they really know where Krishna is gone. So let us find someone who definitely knows where he is. Thus the gopis concluded that since Lord Krishna had to be somewhere on the earth herself must know his whereabouts. So they're just using this logic. Well, maybe they don't know where he is, but he's definitely on the earth. And the earth is showing me symptoms of ecstasy. He's there. But maybe these ecstasies came because of his previous incarnation. So the gopis are going to be mulling over this in their minds. And then the gopis thought, since Krishna always walks on the earth, she is never separated from him, thus cannot understand how much his parents, girlfriends, and servants suffer in his absence. Let us ask her what austerities she has performed to gain the great fortune of being constantly touched by the feet of Lord Keshava. In other words, the gopis also talked about Krishna's flute in the same context. What austerities he may have performed, or the coward boys, because they could be with Krishna. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, because they are absorbed in meditation on Vishnu, they are probably not replying to us. But as residents of the holy place, they are hard-hearted since they don't say a word to us. After this, one gopi spoke, since we cannot tell who knows about Krishna and who does not, why do you criticize these residents of the holy place? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is actually elaborating on the gopis' consciousness by having different gopis speak to each other about this thing. It's like the Radhakunda pastime. We should ask that person who knows the truth, that person who has seen him. Oh friends, do you know that person? Asking all the gopis this. One gopi pointed to the earth with her finger. So this is further elaboration on the purport that was written by Prabhupada's disciples. So it was a gopi actually talking, and she said, do you know who it is? The gopi said to that Saki, yes, whatever you say, what you say is true. Wherever Krishna is, it is somewhere on the earth. The earth is never separated from Krishna. The earth is certainly the most fortunate among all the elders, girlfriends, lovers, and servants, because she never noticed the pain of separation. We should not ask her, as we did to others previously, about news of Krishna, but rather ask her what austerity she did long, long ago to get this good fortune. If we know that, then we can also do the same austerity and become freed from separation from Krishna. Wow. Considering in this way, they then asked the earth, O earth, what austerities did you perform by which you shine with bliss born from the touch of Krishna's feet? Because there are hairs in the form of grass or standing on end, we understand that he has touched you with his feet. What austerity did you do by which you constantly are absorbed day and night in close association with Krishna? You should tell us. Hearing that, our lives will become successful. Seeing the earth did not reply, the gopis began to consider, thinking of the past. Your strength was shown when you bore the great burden of Vamana's foot as he stretched his other foot from Patala to Swarga. By what austerity did you get that strength? Va stands for Vai, certainly, or can be considered added to complete the rhythm of the verse. Or what austerity did you do to get the firm embrace of Varahadev? That austerity by which you get happiness rarely achieved by others is also joyfully performed because it brings you, a woman, into contact with a man. There is no one more fortunate than you. And just a little comment that when Varahadev came in contact with the earth, there was a little baby born. And that baby was known as Boma. And Boma did not go to a devotee school. He went to a Karmi school. And he had bad association. And he became a demon. And that demon's name was Bomasura. That's what you add on your name if you become a demon. Like right now his name is Adi Purusha, so if he becomes a demon, it's Adi Asura. Adi Asura. Adi. I have to figure out the right Sanskrit for it. So anyway, anyway, and then Krishna later on had to kill him. And the earth actually prayed to Krishna after Boma was born, she knew that Krishna was going to kill him. She said, please don't kill our son. And Krishna said, I won't kill him unless you give me permission. So she was thinking, got it. But Krishna was more tricky than any of his wives. So when he went to attack Bomasura, because Bomasura had kidnapped 16,100 princesses. And so, he had to rescue the princesses. So when Krishna went to attack Bomasura, he brought Satyabhama with him. And Satyabhama is actually, or the earth is actually expansion of Satyabhama. And so when he was on the back of Garuda with Satyabhama and Bomasura was attacking him, Satyabhama said, kill him. And Krishna said, thank you for giving me permission. And he killed him. So that's Bomasura. So I think we have to end now. Tomorrow we'll continue with Jiva Goswami's commentaries. So, time to read the deities. Any quick questions or comments? We are especially fortunate to be reading these commentaries of the Acharyas. You don't know how much good fortune you have. To be here with the deities, here with the Vaishnavas, taking prasadam, alive on this earth planet where Krishna appeared, isn't it? I mean, everybody complains about their lives. Didn't get this, didn't get that. Yeah.
It might be a long question and a long answer, but the question is, you spoke about the rainbow wasn't your home, and then I got
The Rainbow Festival.
Yeah, it wasn't your home, and then I was thinking that Prabhupada said that we have to go home back to Godhead.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask you at some point, why do you want to go back to Godhead?
I don't want to go back to Godhead. So does that answer that question? I want to serve Prabhupada life after life. So. But in one sense, the Rainbow Festival was my home because I was preaching there for Prabhupada. But I didn't last very long because it was pretty disgusting. I didn't have the same intolerance that Prabhupada had. Prabhupada actually went to a nudist colony and he was preaching. Nudist colony is where people walk around in their birthday suits. That means what you were born with. Krishna's the only one who was born with jewelry. So Prabhupada went there, and there were devotees who later on became prominent members of the Hare Krishna movement, even the gurus. But Prabhupada said that they're living like trees. Even there was one person who was living in a tree, in the hollow of a tree, who became a great devotee. I'm not mentioning names. But anyway, Prabhupada was more compassionate than me, what can I say? For me, it smelled bad, it looked bad, it was disgusting, and I ran away. And he did it, my lack of tolerance. Anyway, I preached actually for 2 days. I didn't just run away the first day. It was pretty smelly. So this is, I was thinking, this is not a home I want to be in. But there were other devotees there who were more merciful than me and stayed longer. There was one of my godbrothers, Prithu Prabhu. He set up a whole big tent there and was preaching to these people. I don't know, I guess I'm too conservative. It was hard for me to show someone how to chant japa when they were sitting there and completely naked in front of me. I have to be honest. It's just, what? Don't put the beads there. So very, very degraded. Okay, on that happy note, all